Space Engineers 2 is beschikbaar! In vroege toelating. Dat betekent dat Space Engineers 1 nog 1,5 jaar tot 3 jaar nog relevant is. Dus ik dacht, laat ik maar gewoon jullie laten zien hoe jullie Space Engineers 1 kunnen spelen. Dat klopt, mijn eerste poging op een tutorial. Dat zal hopelijk goed gaan, toch? Voor een eerste keer. Ook nog, deze video zal beschikbaar zijn in het Engels, om te zien hoe dat zal gaan. That being said, let's get started. And here it is, and welcome in Space Engineers. Before we get started, a short explanation how to start the game and what the planetary options are. The planets you can choose then when you click on Star System are Earth-like, Earth-like Moon, Mars, Europa, Alien-like, Titan, Triton, and Pertam. Alongside 2 other options which I'll explain in a few moments. But first, the drop pods you'll be dropping in. First off, the standard drop pod. You'll spawn with this pod with most of the planets, which is Earth-like, Mars, Alien Planet, Titan, Europa, Triton, and Pertam. This rover variant is exclusive for the Moon start. The space pod is exclusive for starting in space. You can even start in space with nothing except some basic tools, but that is a die-hard start, which will not be covered here. That all being said, shall we get started? Let's get in the rover pod and get going. Mind the bump, there's lower gravity here. The gravity here is 0.25 g, which is 1/4 of the Earth-like planet. Meaning that on this moon, it's very easy to get airborne, so be careful. Look here, what is this? Discolored splotches on the moon's surface. These are indicators for ore. And they're slightly different depending which planet you're on. The Earth has white, gray, and black splotches. The moon, as you can see, has yellow splotches. The alien planet has white and gray. Europa has gray. Mars, Titan, and Pertam have white splotches, whilst Triton has no physical indicators whatsoever. That being now explained, let's consider building a small base. It's one of the core features in this game, after all, but considering we're on the moon and not the Earth-like, it's going to be a little different, which I'll get to once we are at the point of power generation. But first, resources and location. Now, what would be a good location? Up this hill might be a good idea. Let's see if the rover can do it. Going up the hill. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah. Yep. Over the hill. Nailed it. That wasn't so hard. But now that we found a decent location, how do we avoid our rover from just rolling away? Easy. We hit G, and we look for the component called the cockpit. We then place it down here in the hotbar, and then we select handbrake. Now that we have parked, time to collect some resources. But first, some setup. Let's move to the back of our rover and press K. We then move to production, and we will queue up some ingots. Press once, queues up 1. Control click queues up 10. Shift click will queue 100. And Control plus Shift click will queue up 1,000. Now we queued up our resources, time to get some stone. Let's take out our drill and right click drill to get some distance, because that will destroy the voxel. And then we left click drill to drill the resources. We now have some stone. Now we go to our survival kit in the back of our rover. We place it in, And as you can see, the stone is being refined into iron, nickel, and silicon, plus some gravel, but that's mostly a waste product. Let's dig out some more, and I'll be back in just a moment. We now have some resources. Let's make something out of it. We go to production, and we now press interior plates and some steel plates. Let's also reorganize the build queue. Now that we have some interior plates and steel plates, let's build something. And we will begin by pressing Q, and we will select the solar panel. The solar panel is a block that generates power by collecting sunlight. Very useful for the rover for the moment because it's not generating power, it's running off of the battery. It ain't much, but it's something. Let's place it on the rover here and rotate it around. Find a nice spot. Here. Let's begin by building it. As you can see, there's a small bar to my right. That bar shows the components that are still needed to make this block functional. Let's go to the survival kit and queue up those components. Let's order up 2 construction components, 4 girders, 1 computer, 8 solar cells. We can't make the glass in the survival kit, but that's fine. It will still work without it. And after using our welder to construct it, we now have a functional solar panel, which will generate for us a small bit of power. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, do I have to do that for everything? That's so annoying. Well, let me show you the construction planner. First, we right-click on the block. It's now in our build queue. We now go to the survival kit, and we will hit this button to see if we can drag out the components. It can't, so we now hit this button, and now it will construct all the components as needed. We got a warning that says it can't make glass. As I said, not needed necessarily. Now all the components are done. We hit this button to extract the components, and we now use it on the solar panel to build it up. And hurrah! We have doubled our pathetic power production. Next, we will construct a cargo container. It comes in a few sizes: large, medium, and small. We will not use the small, it's pathetic, and large is unwieldy, so we will use the medium. We will place it on here with the doors lined up, and we will repeat the process of right-clicking, then queuing up the components needed. We will wait for it to build up. Let's just remove this block so we can get to the screen of the survival kit. If you're wondering what's to the left and the right of the survival rover, one side is the O2 generator that's needed for oxygen and hydrogen, and on this side is our battery for power storage. Looks like the components are done queuing up. Let's use it on the cargo container and increase the cargo capacity of our rover. And done. Now with expanded cargo capacity, we can put a lot more stone in here, because as you can see, the cargo capacity has way more cargo capacity than the survival kit itself. Let's now dig out more stone, and I'll be back in a moment. If you're wondering why I moved the queue around before, this is why. Sometimes you want things like the components you need for the build, but it's not being constructed because the survival kit is still busy processing stone into the materials. By shifting the build ingots order to the back, the survival kit will first make the components you need before it will make ingots for you. And it will only do so if there's no material left. Now that we have some materials, let's consider making our base. For the purpose of the tutorial, let's keep this simple, and just make a simple platform with everything we'll need on that. This spot looks good enough. Let's get our components. We'll start with the simple armor block, and the refinery, the pillar block, the basic assembler, and we'll begin with the armor block. We'll rotate it a bit and line it up with this hole a little neatly. As long as it's in the voxels, it is a station. I'll explain that later. Let's first just place our blocks. Here, 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 and one more here. Now, let's place another set of blocks. The pillar, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 high. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do. That'll do just fine. On top of which, let's get the rotor and the hinge. We'll first place the rotor, and on top of that, let's place a hinge. On top of the hinge, we will place an armor block. We'll place a second armor block here, and it just fell over. No problem. On those two blocks, we'll place 2 solar panels. One here, and one here. We'll queue them up, and these are large grid solar panels, so they'll take a lot more material to finish. So, let's queue up the components, dig up more rocks, and we'll see you sometime later. After some time, I have finished the solar panels. Just need to get that final shipment I was waiting for. It's about done. Yep, that'll do. And done. 2 solar panels will generate some power. Now let's use some more components and build the rest of the base. Some more interior plates. We'll actually order a lot of interior plates, because now I want a floor. We will use the interior wall block, and we'll place a line of blocks here. Just one short of the armor blocks. I'll explain why later. Now let's order a little more steel plates. And let's build the rest of the base. For that, we'll need the basic assembler, the refinery, a cargo container, and a... we'll need that one later. First, the basic refinery. The basic refinery has one door opening. Let's place it like so. And let's place the refinery here. And it has 2 door openings. So line them up like this. In between, let's place the cargo container. Now, let's construct these things. Yet again, we will use right-click to place them on our build queue. We will now go to the survival kit and queue up all the parts. It'll take a while. I'll be back in a moment. After digging up a lot more rocks and letting them process, we now have a great number of components. But as you can see, they're still working on it. Because I need to place a lot more rocks in the cargo container. But I can't, because it's full. After some time, we now have the basic assembler. And some more digging and rocks later, we now have also the basic refinery. The basic refinery can refine not just the stone, but also all the other starter ores. Except for a few, but I'll explain later. But now momentarily they're unpowered, because the sun went down. But as you can see, the basic assembler can build a lot more components, including those glass panels that we need to finish the solar panels. But at the moment, we can't build them because the sun is down. Obviously, no solar power means no power for the base. Let's place some of the ingots that we have built in the survival kit and place it in the assembler. Once there's power, we can use those ingots to then build the other components. We'll place the rocks in the refinery. But because no power, it ain't working yet, so let's do something else. Let's scout around. Let's check out those ore patches that we use. Ooh, whoa. We have some silver. And some cobalt. That's interesting. Let's see if we can dig down to it with a degree of efficiency. Let's go down this small crater and see how much closer we are. Yeah, that's a bit closer. Let's dig to it. But this will still take a while. I'll be right back in a moment. Well, that certainly didn't take forever. This is cobalt ore. This is what we need for the next tier of technology. So let's dig some of it up for now. And take it to the refinery. But come to think of it, we probably need to scout around a bit more. And looky here, an unknown signal. Unknown signals can drop down so now and then in a survival playthrough. They can contain some goodies, such as a fancier tool, some ore, components. All you need to do is press this button, see if you get a prize, go to the small cargo container, take out the loot, and you can use your angle grinder to break down the pod for the components that it has. It's mostly steel plates, but every little bit helps. This is a battery, more steel plate here. Let's take out this, and grind some more. Sometimes you need to get the right angles. Yeah. Whoa! Yeah. If you're not in time, sometimes they'll do that. They'll just go, explode. Let's just get back to the task at hand, shall we? Like placing our valuable cobalt ore, some stone, and the scrap in the refinery. Scrap can refine into a small bit of iron. My energy in hydrogen is rather low. I'm going to the survival kit and recharge. The survival kit is very important. If it's connected to an O2 generator, it'll refill your oxygen, your hydrogen. If it's connected to a power source, it will recharge you, and it will also heal you. Your survival kit is also your respawn point. Let's go to the O2 generator and take out that hydrogen bottle. It'll help us go the distance. Let's take these spare parts, thin that on that draw pod, and place it into the assembler for later use. Considering we still need to wait for the power to return, let's talk about progression. As you can see, there are a bunch of blocks here, but if I go to this cube, called progression, you can see there are a lot of blocks grayed off. Those blocks are unavailable to me unless I build a block that allows me to unlock it. For example, there are a lot of blocks here that are not available to me, and there are a lot of blocks here that are not available to me, including these blocks. And we need to build a battery first. As you can see, there are also blocks unavailable to me here. These blocks are available because I have built a refinery. But the blocks here are unavailable because I have not built a landing gear yet. So let's build a landing gear. Let's take out some components from the assembler. Go to our build queue. Go to our hit G. Look up the landing gear. And we'll not build this size landing gear. By pushing the number again, we will then cycle through the 2 grid sizes. We'll take the small one, we'll weld it up, and we have unlocked new blocks. Those blocks are things like cockpits, seats, wheels, things we need to make ships. Let's grind down the landing gear and reuse components for something else. Let's quickly talk about setting down markers on the map. As you can see, I found some ores here. In order to place a marker, I'll hit K, go to GPS, and click on New, then Current Location. They'll make a marker with your name on it. You could rename it to whatever you like. I'll just use the periodic table initials for the ores I found, such as Fe for iron, Co for cobalt, and Ni for nickel. I can also change the color, and hit close, and as you can see, the marker has appeared. I can now go back to the spot without looking up where I found it. As you can see, I've taken the liberty to collect all the ores for demonstration purposes. Stone, scrap, iron ore, silicon ore, nickel ore, cobalt ore, and magnesium ore. These are all the ores that the basic refinery can refine. If I go now to the build queue and show you the full-sized refinery, this refinery can refine all the ores in-game. But it's also a very huge block. Let's turn back to progression. There's another way to get progression in this game other than building new blocks. You can also take blocks you already have, grind them down to below functional, then weld them back up to functional, and now that I've done that to the O2 tank, I've also unlocked hydrogen tanks and oxygen tanks. We also need to do the batteries, but don't grind down the battery. Power cells will be destroyed if you grind them down. They'll turn into scrap, and we can only get ore from that. So don't do that. We can grind down this lamp, though, if we are careful. Weld it back up, and we also unlock the blocks that are associated with the lamp, such as... let's have a look here. All these computer blocks. Now, let's fill in this space I purposely left open. But first, let's weld up this floor tile. And I get unlocks from that as well. With that, I have all the interior blocks unlocked, such as doorways, passages, glass, there's windows, pillars, and there's all the DLC that I bought. I don't have a problem. Now the sun has risen again. A degree of power is returning to the base. Let's go to the base and see. Let's see if it's back online. Not yet. There are not enough solar panels. They're not even collecting any sunlight yet. They are powering up, though. But as you can see, I'm also going to add more solar panels. Looks like I'll be using... Whoa! As we now hear this, the refinery is working. That means that the base is online. I'll just add a few more solar panels and see how far we get. 6 solar panels are operational now, and we have a functional working base. I even built up that cargo container. However, this is not efficient. As you can see, the solar panels are not pointing towards the sun. And we have power fluctuations as well, because of the inconsistency. We can fix that by building a battery. Let's take out some steel plate. We'll source our hotbar, and we'll select the battery. This large grid battery is very expensive, though, so this will take a while to build. Let's just place it here. Take out our welder. Right-click. And now, let's queue up the construction of the battery we need. Uh-oh, not enough power. And we can't reposition the solar panels. These are large grid solar panels. They will not be moved unless a small grid ship pushes it. Unfortunately, the only small grid ship we have is the rover, and it cannot fly, so we'll need to be patient. As you can hear, the refinery is refining. That means the solar panels are receiving just enough power for that to work. Now, let's really get building that battery. We now go here and queue up the parts. That is a nasty noise. That's power inconsistency. We can fix that by shutting down some of the blocks. We'll go here, control panel, select a refinery, and turn it off. Now, we don't hear that terrible noise. Construction of the large grid battery is going slowly because we can only just place around 20 power cells in our inventory, and the battery needs about 80. So this will take a while. Uh-oh, we have no ingots left. We unfortunately have to therefore turn back on the refinery and undergo that terrible noise. That terrible noise is back, but at the very least, power cells are slowly being built. As you can see, there are 8 here at the moment. And with many trials and tribulations later, we now have a functional battery. A battery, once constructed, has a small amount of charge in it than the start. Any excess power that the solar panels produce will go into the battery. Meaning we can now run the refinery and the assembler without that terrible racket or power fluctuations. But now we also build a battery, we also have access to this, the camera. And let's also now look up that last block we were just thinking about. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, here it is. The custom turret controller. As the name suggests, you can use it to make turrets. However, you can also set them up to perform solar tracking. Let's build some plates to build this up. And I forgot that this thing takes interior plates, not steel plates, so please wait for me in a few minutes. There you go. We now place the custom turret controller. We right-click again, put in build queue, build it up. We now take our camera, take it to our solar array we've been building, place it here, weld it up, realize there are no computers, build queue that, and whilst we wait for construction, we'll just rename some of the blocks with the initials ST for solar panel. We'll do that to the camera, the hinge, and the rotor. Doing this small step will make setting up this system a little easier. Now that all the components are done, let's take them out of the build queue and assemble everything. Place everything in the custom turret controller, assemble the rotor, and assemble the hinge. Don't forget about the camera. And let's set up the system. We'll go down and select azimuth and elevation. We will select the hinge, select the rotor, select the camera, and adjust some speeds so it doesn't go too fast. We'll scroll down and turn on solar tracking. Editor me here. I just realized I got the hinge and the rotor mixed up. The hinge should be set to elevation, whilst the rotor should be set to azimuth, which is horizontal. Obvious mistake, I know. This is my first tutorial. Go easy on me, okay? And with that, we have now a tracking solar panel array, which means maximum solar energy into the solar panels, into the battery, and into the base. And with that, we have a respectable start going. Next time, we will get into atmospherics and vehicle construction. Meaning we'll do some upgrades on our rover and maybe build a new ship from scratch. So, let me know what you think. Until next time.